Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Passion Projects podcast. Today on the pod, our guest is Anthony Church. Anthony is a very talented music producer, instrumentalist, and a podcast host of his own podcast called the Proven Knowledge Pod. Anthony does have an upcoming project that is going to be releasing on all platforms very soon called Leaves and Soil that we talked about in length on the podcast, so I'm very excited for y'all to hear about that. But yeah, like I mentioned, Anthony is a very talented music producer, so I'm excited for you to hear the conversation we had. Without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Anthony Church.
Yeah, but I don't know if you know this. Maybe you've seen some of the other stuff that I've done, but I'm also I have been a music producer and in music and creating in that way. So I love to connect with other people that are also in that same kind of field. So it's nice to have
Yeah,
here that can talk ball.
yeah. I was gonna say, I think I noticed that first about what you were doing because you explained that in the intro episode too, that
hmm
you were a musician and then you wanted to kind of venture off into doing this podcast. And I started checking out some of the episodes. I like how you interview a lot of different people from different fields too, because that's
hmm
pretty unique. Because I'm used to just doing like interviews with artists, producers, engineers, things like that. But I think there's even more power when you can venture off into different lanes and have those different
Yeah.
conversations. So,
Yeah, that's kind of where the idea for this channel and passion projects came from, was just like talking to artists about their story and their journey and what's worked for them and what didn't, and how you can grow and learn from someone like that that's kind of
yeah,
going through the grind of being an artist. So that's
yeah,
kind of where the idea came from.
yeah. I think it's great too because it allows people that are like just starting out to kind of get that perspective from someone else. And that's
Mhm,
kind of what I try to do at my show too. Is like I always thought about it from the perspective of, well, how did I feel at the beginning? Like how
mhm.
lost was I? And I was always looking for new information, like how to get started or just like how to get my foot in the door. So the interviews and like the conversations always helped me, whether it was like an old YouTube interview
For
from
sure.
people that I listened to or whatever. And that's kind of what sparked me to do it too. So it sounds like for you, it's been kind of a similar
Very
journey,
much
which is
so.
awesome. So
Did you also spend in your early music production days spend a lot of time on YouTube trying to find the right video? Did you do the right thing about whatever you were trying to do?
yeah, for sure. Cause I basically what I did was in high school. So like 2012 to like 2016, I just used that to study. I didn't even
Mhm,
start making music until out once I got out of high school. So I really just started like watching YouTube tutorials. I wanted to start making beats on FL Studio. So I started like watching FL Studio tutorials and things like
mhm.
that. And yeah, I pretty much just did that. I still do that today, just not as much as I did back then.
Sure. Yeah, you don't there's not as much of a need for it if you know kinda how to do a little bit more, a lot more. Yeah. So for people that don't know you yet, just kinda tell them about what you do as an artist, who you are, and everything that can kinda encapsulates what you do.
Yeah, so I've been producing music for 9 years now. I started in 2016, like July of 2016, technically. Um, Me
Mhm,
and my buddy, well, two of my buddies, we actually took a senior trip to California and we stayed with my one friend's aunt and uncle. And I remember kind of talking to my friend and being like, we should definitely try to make music in some way, shape, or form. Like, we've been talking about it for a while. We were fans of music, but
mhm.
we didn't really, know how to kind of get our foot in the door of what we were going to do. And I knew I kind of wanted to produce. And like I said, I had been studying the previous 4 years of like music production. I was just kind of on the fence about it. And then after that trip, we kind of decided to, or really during that trip, we decided to kind of start making music. And he decided he was going to rap and I was going to produce for him. So we kind of started together, like unofficially, and making a bunch of different projects. We did probably 4 or 5 different projects over the course of, I'd say from 2016 all the way until 2022. And we
Mhm.
still work together. He's kind of off doing different things at this time. Like he's moving to another state and kind of doing his own thing. So he's not really focused on music at the moment. But that's really how I started. I think being able to start with someone else and kind of learn from someone else is a big thing that helped me out. Because I feel like if I just started by myself, it might not have been as easy to kind of develop the
For sure.
skills of like how do I work with an artist, like how do I develop
Mhm.
someone's sound, Um, so I think being able to learn together was a big thing. Like he would learn, writing, and I would learn kind of how to craft the musical elements. And I made a lot of terrible music the first few years for sure. I looked back at the stuff I did from, I'd say 2016 through like 2019, and not a lot
Mhm.
of it was great. I mean, a lot of it was, how you would sound at the beginning when you don't really have the experience. Um, but it was just learning to make music and work together. And then from there, I started kind of expanding my foot online and kind of building an online presence and wanting to produce for other artists out there. So I worked with some artists that were in other states. It took me until I think 2019 when I started working with other artists and kind
Mhm.
of spreading my sound, uploading beats to SoundClick at the time. I wasn't even on BeatStars yet at that time. Trying to sell beats, and I think the first beat I sold was in probably late 2019. I got to work with an artist from Nashville, and we
Oh,
made a whole
cool.
song together. And it was the first time where I was like, "Wow, I could actually make some money with some of this stuff." So that would be pretty cool. And then from there, it's just been building, my own thing. And then around 2020, during the pandemic, I started to put out my own music to streaming platforms just by myself, like instrumental stuff.
Okay.
So the last 5 years now, I've kind of been slowly building up what I'm doing as an artist, not just as a producer. Like I'm still producing for other people, but I found the value in being able to kind of build your own story and your own sound, and
Mhm.
really start attracting people that way as well. Because it's one thing to just like work behind the scenes and kind of you know, do things for other artists, that's cool, but, like, I want to kinda build my own thing, build my own story, start putting out these projects, and it's been really fun, and I'm glad and I'm excited to see kinda where it goes from here. So I'd say in a nutshell, that's kinda the last 9 years or so of my
Gotcha.
music journey. So
Yeah.
What do you think was the thing that really first got you interested in music? Like, I know typically people will say something such as, "Well, I've always been into listening to music," or "I've always just really enjoyed dancing to music or singing." Like, what was it for you that really got you invested into taking the dive from being a music listener to a music maker?
yeah, so I don't know, 'cause I really got into I think I found my own taste in music when I was, like, 9 or 10 years old, which for me, that was hip hop, 'cause, like, none of my family listens to hip hop. Everybody listens to kinda different things. Like, my dad, he listens to all '70s and '80s music. He won't even
Mhm.
touch anything past 1989, like, he won't touch it. My mom listens to country, my brother listens to EDM and rock. Um so I was kind of the oddball. Like I fell in love with hip hop and I
Right.
was a fan of it, but I knew I was like, I cannot rhyme and I cannot rap to save my life. And I'm like, I don't even want to embarrass myself like that. So when I found out that, you could make music even just on like a computer or like an MPC, which is how a lot of hip hop music was made,
Mhm.
I kinda just started to gravitate toward that side of things, and I was like, "This could be a way for me to kinda get my foot in the door." When I was growing up, I took, guitar lessons, and I was not very good at that. I actually quit that within, like, a year, and I was like, "Man, it's gonna be kind of a hurdle because I kinda compared it to how I approached that, and I was like, "Well, I gave up on that. Let me see if I can try this out and not give up on it, kinda stick with it." So when
Mhm.
I officially, started, working on FL Studio and trying to learn that, I made it like a real point to say, let's kind of stick with this. Let's not give up after like a month if we're not good. And like I said earlier, I made a lot of bad stuff, but it's like you got to make bad stuff to end up making good stuff eventually. And I'm
Yeah.
glad I stuck with it. But that was kind of the decision making was like, it seemed like the point of entry made sense for me personally and that I could get in there and, you know, start working and start creating. And for me, just being able to make music, even if it doesn't have words on it, I think there's a lot of power in that. And it's just fun. Like I feel like it's almost just like a video game where you go in and kind of just craft different things and create new sounds every day. And I try to make at least one idea a day, even if it's something that's never going to get heard. So it became fun, and now it's like a daily part of my routine every single day. So I think that's kind of how it got
Yeah.
going initially.
I
So
love hearing that from people that somehow got into music because for me, it was. Like, I randomly kinda entered my high school choir just by being around all my friends that were,
Mhm.
in the choir, and then the music teacher was like, "Hey, I know your mom and she could sing, you should try out."
Mhm.
And that's kinda what got me going. Then I met a friend
Yeah.
who played guitar and sang, and then he started doing music production, and it's cool how it just kinda infiltrates your life
Yeah.
slowly.
It's funny because now that you mention that, I was actually in choir from middle school all the way until I think my sophomore year. I hated it. Like I absolutely
Really?
despised it. I was just not for me, man. Like it, I'm not like I said, I'm not a vocalist. I remember having to do like the our tests for like the 9 weeks were like reading scales and stuff. And I
Mm,
failed at all that stuff. I was just like, man, this is not for me. But I think it was like just finding like my lane within music and like what does that
mhm,
look like for me specifically. That's kind of what rerouted me to kind of where I am now.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I knew from the jump. I was like anything vocally, like it's not gonna happen for me. So,
Yeah,
but
we're gonna hire somebody else out for that then, yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Uh, so tell me why. I think I know the answer, but tell me why you chose FL Studio for your DAW.
It was primarily because a lot of the producers I was a fan of at the time were all using it, and it's just what I associated with the music that I liked, and that's kind of
Mhm.
just what I did. So, like I said about watching those YouTube videos, I was watching them kind of break down like popular tracks within FL Studio, and I just thought it looked kind
Mhm.
of, I thought it looked pretty relatively easy as opposed to like Pro Tools or Ableton or any of those.
Pro
And
Tools and
so
Ableton look like languages to
yeah,
me.
yeah.
I not
I know a lot of engineers that mix in Pro Tools and Ableton, and I just feel like the workflow looks very different. I don't want to say it's like impossible to learn. I think for beginners though, it's probably not like recommended to start with that because there's a lot of advanced features. Even from the recording aspect,
Mhm.
there's a lot of advanced features. I think for FL Studio and specifically, like I said, the genre of music I was trying to make, it just made sense because I was associating it with the people that I was listening to that were already using it. So it kind of just fell into my lap in that way. So that's kind of why I decided to go that route.
Okay. Yeah, that's kinda what I thought you were gonna say. I know FL Studio is, like, really the beat making one. It's
Yeah,
definitely the easiest. Put
yeah,
down a kick drum and a snare and a hi-hat and get going.
yeah. They make
Um,
it relatively easy, even if you are just starting out. Kind of figure it out because they even put the step sequencer in there. You can just play
yeah.
around, even if you're just messing with sounds like stock sounds. You'll understand it within no time.
Mhm,
So
mhm. So take me back to some of those first tracks you made. For someone that maybe would be an aspiring music producer, what were some of the, I guess, pitfalls you could say you ran into in those first couple years, maybe, and what you learned from that?
yeah. I guess from a creation standpoint, what I would do is just go to YouTube and start looking for like samples and things I could kind of, chop up and mess with, even if I knew like I could never put it out because of copyright and things like that. So I just remember
Mhm,
kind of practicing with that. And I remember getting frustrated a lot of, just not being able to create something that I enjoyed. um, I think it just kind of goes back to the whole not giving up thing. Like you have to be able to understand that it's going to take time for you to learn. And even 9 years in, I'm still not even close to where I want to be at this point. I'm still trying to learn every single day and get better. But you can kind of look
mhm,
back and see the progress. So I think early on, you have to kind of wade through all that self doubt and just the ways of making things that you're not really proud of to get to the point
mhm.
where you're making things that you feel better about. So I guess I would just say if you are starting out, you got to be able to understand that that's a reality for everybody because it's not something that you can necessarily just skip over. Um,
Yeah.
'Cause that's the hardest part, and that's why people give up. But it's like, are you gonna be the
Mhm,
person that gives up and then nothing ever happens for you, or are you gonna be the person that perseveres and keeps showing up every day and trying to get better, and just be dedicated, like, be as dedicated as you could possibly be to that craft and try to stay focused too, I think for me, I was still almost not putting my full attention on it even in the beginning.
Mhm.
So I was still kind of hesitant. I was like, well, if I'm not good at this, maybe I should just pivot to something else. But I think once I got locked in and truly dedicated to it, then it became something that has gotten better and better each year,
Mhm.
and it has become more fruitful, and the opportunities have come more and more because I've been able to kind of lock in and stay
Mhm.
on the grind. So
And I think that's kind of a tough part to music production as well, is that there's so many layers to it. Like, I'm sure your understanding of how to use reverb is a hundredfold better than what it was even maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
yeah,
And you could say the same thing for compression and for EQ and for, like, laying out your track and, like, all those kinda things. If you're new to it, it looks so daunting, and that's because it kind of is, and you can kinda slowly wean your way, but it's just difficult because you're not like you said, even 9 years in, you're not really gonna feel like
yeah,
you know everything. That can be
yeah.
pretty difficult.
And that's the thing. I think you always have to remain a student too. You kind of have to get in the mentality of, I never will learn everything. The
Mhm.
important thing is like learning what you can apply to what you're trying to do. Because I think everybody tries to learn everything all at once too. And then
Yeah.
that becomes an issue for them because they get overwhelmed and then they're more likely to just say, well, I'm just not going to do this because this is just too much for me. It's like
Mhm.
just be willing to take the time to learn certain things, get really good at that, and then if you can expand to other aspects, then do that from there. That would probably be something that I would tell anybody, no matter what they're trying to do. Just take your time with it, because like I feel like everybody always thinks they're in a rush too, and most of the time we're not in a as big of a rush as we think we are. We're just doing that in our own head. Um,
Mhm.
so you kind of got to put that to the side and just stay focused on one or two things, start out, get really good at that, and then shift to the next big thing and see what you can
Mhm.
do. Even my mixing abilities aren't that great still. I'm still actively trying to learn to get better at that. I think I've gotten a lot better at mixing my own beats, but now trying to mix like vocals and things like that, I'm still trying to learn that and get better there. Um, that's going to be a process, so we'll see what happens. But
Oh. Whoa, sorry, I think that was my internet.
we back?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird, it's like my internet just randomly disconnected. That was weird. Anyways.
No, all good. All good.
Yeah, the last thing I heard you say was, yeah, you basically just have to, um, not let it all get to you in those different ways and consolidate it down into, like, tiny bits of what you need to learn instead of
Yeah.
all. So is that basically
Yeah.
the gist of what you meant?
Yeah, pretty much. Just kind of just stay focused on one or two things and then, from there just be able to take what you learn there and then expand out. And that's something I'm still doing a lot as far as kind of learning to mix my own music too.
Mhm.
Because I feel like I've gotten a lot better at mixing like my beats and things like that, but now I'm starting to learn more about vocal mixing and mastering and doing those sort of things. So you always just got to be willing to get out of your comfort zone and kind of learn something new. So
100%, 100%. So, what was the moment where you kinda realized, "Okay, I can pursue this seriously. This is something I could really make a go at and try with."
yeah, I'd say probably after my friend and I did the first project, which again, not the best project. We both kind of poke fun at it every now and then. Because a lot of like the production for me was the keys were off. I was putting things together that didn't even match.
Mhm.
And there's songs that are like, we were doing 6-minute songs, like for no reason. We're like, what were we thinking? But I think after we did the first project, we kind of both felt like good enough to keep going because we saw that as kind of the beginning. And then we said, well, we could do better than that. Like, let's kind of keep going and seeing what we can do from there. So it took about a year and a half because that's how long we worked on that project, probably from like middle of 2016 until the end of 2017. And then from there, I was like, well, I feel good about this. Like, I feel like I can keep getting better. So let's just keep going and see what happens. And that's kind of how it went, and really haven't looked back from there. Um, so I guess just like I said, being able to get through the kind of the tough beginning phase is really where it can start, and you never know where it'll lead from there. But
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know that that tough beginning phase can feel long and hard and difficult, and in some ways, I still feel like but I need to freaking pick up my guitar and open Logic so I can try again and see what happens, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So, who were some of your biggest musical influences when you were just starting out?
yeah. So I guess as a listener, like the people that got me into hip hop was really like Lupe Fiasco, Jay Z, early Kanye stuff. I'm not really super up on Kanye's anything these days, to be
Yeah.
honest. But when I was coming up, for sure, like when I was 9 or 10 years old, that was around the time when his album Graduation came out. I remember that being a big album.
What a banger, dude.
Yeah,
What an
yeah.
absolute just ah.
Yeah, so like it was people like that that definitely got me into hip hop. Talib Kweli, Common, all those sorts of people. As far as like producers, I was really studying like Boy Wonder, who produces a lot of Drake stuff, Hit Boy, Dahi, Timbaland. And again, I have some interesting opinions on Timbaland these days. I don't really like what he's doing nowadays, but early on definitely influenced me for sure. Um, but a lot of people, even Kanye's production, obviously, because he produced for a lot of different people. So that was really like the mid 2000s into all of the 2010s. That was really the people I was listening to and who I became a fan of, and then from there just started saying, "Oh, I could probably try this myself and see what I can do."
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's just some of the people early on. But I feel like my music like palette and the amount of artists I listen to has definitely increased. And I credit a lot of that to being a producer because I think you're always trying to study new types of music, find different artists. And I feel like I
Mhm.
listen to a lot more instrumental music now because I'm a producer. I'm just kind of studying what other producers are putting out and what they're doing. So I think back when I was younger, I was super like niche. I wouldn't listen to a lot of different music because I just didn't think it was going to be good. Um, but my buddy's uncle, like I said, we went on that trip, that senior trip. He told us a piece of advice that I never forgot, and he said if you're gonna make music, you should probably start listening to stuff that you might not normally listen to on your daily like playlist or on the radio or whatever. Like start digging into other genres because it'll kind of help you be able to understand different types of music. And then it'll also help you if you sample and things like that, you can find different things to sample. So I
Yeah.
always think about what he told us and I was like, yeah, I should definitely start doing that. So I'd say for the last 8 or 9 years, I've really expanded, who I'm listening to, the type of music I'm listening to, and just been able to find a lot of cool stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So, talk to me about how you transitioned from kinda making those hip hop beats to I guess you call them like, more lo-fi instrumentals? Is that what you'd say you do now a lot of?
yeah, I think I still do really kind of see. I don't even really box it into genres as much because I feel like the last few years has really just been me trying to find what my sound is and like what my style is. So there's
Yeah.
variations of my sound. I think there's ones that are definitely more lo-fi and they don't have a
Mhm.
lot of elements to them. They're down tempo, but they focus on the melodies. But I still do hip hop stuff. I still do more up tempo stuff, and I do a lot of R&B stuff as well. So I guess I'll just like kind of like the listeners decide what genre it is.
Mhm.
But I think for me, I just kind of make what I want to make every day. I don't even think about like, well, I'm gonna make this style and hopefully it'll end up in this position. Even the projects I've been putting out the last couple years, a lot of those songs were beats I made like 2 or 3 years ago at separate
Yep.
times, and then I just bring them together and create a project around it and put a theme around it and things like that. So I think
Cool.
for me, it's just making music that I like. And then from there, if I put it out, I feel confident that somebody else is going to like it too. But I'm
Yeah.
really open to a lot of genres. As long as I feel like I enjoy what I'm creating, then, I feel good about putting it out there. So,
Mhm. So, talk to me then about, Leaves and Soil, your new
mm.
project. It's not out on all platforms, right? It's just that pre-release?
Yeah, it's gonna be out on the 21st of this month on all platforms and Bandcamp as well. It's on Even, which is kind of like Bandcamp. I've been kind of experimenting with that platform the last couple years. And I've had some interesting results so far, but I'm gonna keep doing kind of the early releases over there because it lets people
Yeah.
support if they want to. They can hear the music and get the merch and things like that. But this project, I made it 2 years ago in
Cool.
2023. Uh, it's kind of weird because I made that project and the last one I put out called When Love's the Motive kind of at the same time, and I wrapped them up, and then I did kind of all the content around them, and they've kind of just been sitting waiting to be released based on the schedule of like when I've been putting out music. But this one is just a fall themed album. It's definitely more of like the lo-fi stuff that you were talking about, where it's more relaxing. It's not a bunch of up tempo stuff. It's not a bunch of high energy stuff. But I used a lot of different elements like piano, bass guitar, just lighter percussion elements, just things that you would think about like fall time. Like, what would you think about when you're thinking about this time of year? And so I thought, I got to put it out in October or November, somewhere in there. So I think it's just kind of the soundtrack to like just having a nice chill day in the fall time. It's not really music that you're going to be like analyzing and overanalyzing. It's just something to kind of put on in the background and just kind of relax and hopefully have a nice afternoon too. So yeah, that's going to be coming out on the 21st, and
Cool.
it's technically the third full instrumental album that I've done in the last like year, a little over a year at this point. So yeah, I'm excited for it for sure, and I hope people enjoy it as well.
Well, I will tell you, I go for a walk every morning, for a 30-minute walk, and I was listening to the singles you released on it. I think it was, like, Nostalgic Experience and one other
Yeah,
one I can't remember of, but I was listening to that. I was just vibing on my walk this morning, so you're already
yeah.
doing the thing.
Yeah, and that's really the goal. Like I feel like with my stuff, it's not if like if you hear it, you're not going to be like, "Wow, that's the most groundbreaking thing I've ever heard," because it's none of my stuff is groundbreaking. None of it is stuff that's I'm not reinventing the wheel. It's just stuff I enjoy, and it's stuff that I as a listener like as well. So if someone could just throw on like a track of mine and vacuum their carpet or cook a meal or whatever, it's like, well, there you go. That's good enough for
Okay.
me. Like,
Yeah.
because you don't have to think about it too much. It's just chill. I had a buddy, he lives in Orlando, and he won. I did a contest for a vinyl release for my album Unknown Advantage that I dropped last year. He won the contest and he ended up getting the vinyl, and he's like, me and my wife have been playing this vinyl at dinner. He's like, we put it on for our dinner music and it's just in the background. And I was like, that's amazing because that's like exactly what
Yeah.
I would have in mind for that type of music, because it's
That's
just
so
super
cool.
chill, it's just super relaxing, and it doesn't have a lot of harsh sounds to it, so it's just something that you can throw on and kind of just vibe to. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So, you may have answered this already, but maybe the ability to expand on it, like, Leaves and Soil, what does that title mean to you?
Yeah, so there is a process that is done when leaves fall from a tree to the ground. Essentially, when they decompose, the elements of them enrich the soil and create new life from the soil. I didn't know about this process until I researched it like a couple years ago because I was trying to figure out like, okay, fall themed albums have been done a million times, and they've also been done in the instrumental category a million times,
Mm,
because it usually you associate the fall season with just kind of being very relaxed, kind of like springtime. It's very relaxed, so you kind of associate relaxing music with that time of year. So I was like, I want to do something like that, but I want to kind of do it around a concept that hasn't been done before. So I kind of started researching that cycle, and I was like, that's very interesting because it's almost like the life cycle where something will die and then it kind of enriches the soil and then creates new life from that. So I just thought the concept was kind of cool. So I kept the title very simple for people to read. And it might not
Mm,
mean anything to anybody, but like if you start researching it, it has definitely different layers to it. Um, so I guess I just wanted to create music that kind of reflected that, and made people kind of think about that. And then obviously the titles of the tracks kind of reflect the time of year as well, in a little bit of ways. But that in turn is really the concept of the project and why that's the title of the project. And
yeah,
it's something that like I said, I didn't know that that was even a thing before I researched it, but it makes total sense. And the nature cycles and things like that always kind of fascinate me too.
for
So I
sure.
think it was kind of cool to do something that's kind of an ode to that.
Mhm.
But that's where it came from.
Yeah, I think that's really cool for anyone that would hear this and then go listen to the album to hear how you I guess, how would you say, like, conceptualize
Yeah,
the title, the artwork that then goes and matches with not just one track, but how each track plays out in a timeline, and that's something I think not a ton of people realize these days. And an album that when an album used to come out, you'd get it on, like a CD or a cassette tape or, something. I can't think of other things, but other things that you just listen to the songs in order. You don't get to click on whichever one you want and play it
yeah,
through. And hearing that reminds me how important it is to listen to an album from start to finish in order because it takes you through hopefully, it takes you through a journey of what the artist and producer was trying to evoke out of you emotionally, and
yeah,
I think that when I hear this, it's gonna do an amazing job of doing exactly what I just said, so that's gonna be
yeah.
pretty cool to hear.
Well, that's definitely the goal for sure. I'm definitely an albums person because I came up in the era where the album was still like a big thing, and a lot of my favorite artists have amazing albums. You remember artists for the albums, not really the singles.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm trying to do is really like come up with themes around each one of these projects and kind of like it's like world building. Like you're trying to bring somebody into that world, and I try to do that in the like promotional campaigns too. I kind of try and extend them for like a 3 to 4 month period. Like what I've been doing with the last three albums is I'll do three singles, one each month, promote those singles, do a visualizer for them, and then start building, the hype on the project. Like I'll tell people like this is from this project, have very similar artwork for each one of the singles, kind of associate that with the actual album, and then do like the pre-release. Probably tie a piece of merch to that in some type of way, let people know like, hey, this piece of merch is not going to be everywhere, but you can get it just for this project for the early release. And then eventually I end up releasing the full project and then doing some other promotional stuff too. Like I've been doing like track by track breakdowns, talking about each song on the
Oh, wow.
project. Um, and then doing things like this, just going on podcasts, talking about the projects and just really trying different things and seeing what works. And this is, like I said, the third full album I've been doing that. And I already have, I think, three other projects lined up here that are going to be coming out in the next couple of years. So I'm thinking super far ahead on this stuff, but just trying to
For
get
sure.
strong concepts that relate to me that I feel like other people can relate to in some type of way as well. And really just thinking very much in detail about how I'm going to be presenting that to everyone. So yeah.
No, that's really cool. I think that's lost on a lot of people these days just because of, I guess you could say Spotify,
Yeah. Or
but
just
if you have
streaming in general. Yeah.
yes.
It's really a playlist world at this point. You know what I mean? Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I have my Apple Music playlist and it's got X amount of thousand songs, and that's usually what I'm playing every single day. But I feel like real music fans and like real music heads, they'll do the digging. Like they'll go find artists that they enjoy. And I always find it funny the people that, especially in hip hop, this is the big thing where people say, all the real hip hop's gone. Like every artist is just bad and there's no good music. It's like there's plenty of good music. You're just not looking for it. You're
It's like
being
the
lazy.
most good music there's
So
ever been.
yeah, you have access to really all this stuff and you're just not digging, you're not looking for it. So you really have yourself to blame for that. Cause I, for one, I've always been someone that I dig for stuff and I go looking for like what am I gonna find next that's gonna be like something that inspires me or something that I end up listening to that person every single day, some degree.
Mhm.
So I think it's just putting in that effort, and people have become really lazy in that, I think. And a lot of that might have to do with the playlisting and stuff like that. But it'll be interesting to see, how it continues to evolve moving forward.
Let's, let's dig into that a little bit. Do you have, like, a bedroom studio, or do you have your own actual studio place in a different location?
No, I really just work off the laptop, and
Mhm,
I have like a mic and things like that, interface if I need it.
mhm.
But I pretty much just work in the box, and I pretty much just work from anywhere. Usually it's just my
Yeah.
room or the
Mhm,
living room or whatever. Maybe one day, like that is a long-term goal to have somewhat of a home studio set up where I can have artists come in and be able to record them and create like on the spot. That would definitely be a long-term goal, but no, I've kinda just been doing it, in the box on the laptop for the last 9
mhm.
years. So, just making it work, but
Yeah, that's also been a dream and goal of mine. It's still on my goal list is to I wanna have my own building for a podcast studio and a music studio all in one so I can
yeah.
immerse in that world. But
You
the
gotta get the home base, build the home base,
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
comes to you. Yep.
The home base for me started out as a college dorm room and then transformed into the bedroom and then, wherever I have ended up living.
Yeah.
But I did wanna ask, so I've been a bedroom producer, you're a bedroom producer. How do you feel like being a just how do you feel like the access to anyone can produce music these days?
Yeah.
Like, there's no barrier to entry anymore. You used to have to, have a band that would book time at a studio and have a manager that would, get you into these different places and have connections. But now you pay, you have a MacBook and you get GarageBand with that immediately. Anyone can learn to produce. How do you think that's changed music production, artistry, the sound of different genres? Maybe dive into that as much as you think you can.
Yeah. I think it's just like anything else. It has, its pros and cons because obviously it allows people that are gonna take it seriously, the ability to start that journey, but then it
Mhm,
also gives people the opportunity to make really terrible stuff. It's like, wow, this actually is awful. Um, I think it just kind of goes back to what I was talking about in toward the beginning about staying dedicated to it. Because I think even if someone has the access to it, it doesn't mean they're gonna do anything with it. They might
mhm,
get band lab and start working in band lab, and then 2 weeks later they quit, and then they never
mm,
touch it again. Um, so I don't really think it's that bad. I really think it just comes down to the person at the end of the day, and it's really not even the tools you use. It's just what is inside of you that will say, "I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna continue on." And there's been a lot of people that younger people, even people my age or older, that started making music within the last 5 years, and they've already quit. And I've been doing it 9 years, and I'm still
yeah,
going. So it's like, to me, I don't even care that much. I think that it's a good thing, and technology is always gonna keep moving forward.
mhm,
But um, I don't know. I don't really think it's something that you should get super caught up on because it's each person is just going to do with the technology what they will, and it doesn't necessarily mean, even if it's easy for them to create, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be creating anything that is going to last. Um,
mhm,
so yeah, I don't know. I guess I just haven't really laid much thought to it, but it is a good thing to bring up because it things just continue to evolve so rapidly, and it's like
mhm.
it really is hard to kind of put a finger on like where it's going to go next or what is going to be the next big thing. But even if
There's
new
a lot of
technology,
artists
yeah,
Sorry to cut
no,
you off.
you're
I was just
good.
gonna a lot of artists that have started in their bedroom and then they are big time artists. The one I can think of off the top of my head, I don't know if you know Lauv. The I like it
Don't.
better when I'm with you. That guy.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard that song.
He started out in his
Yeah,
bedroom producing, and,
yeah,
now he's a big old pop star still. I'm sure there's dozens of examples of that wouldn't have really had the ability or access to music production in that way without it being like, the barrier to entry being so low.
yeah,
I do hear what you're saying as well about, like, it doesn't it doesn't change a ton because some people can pick it up for 2 weeks and then never touch it again. Like, there is that
Yeah.
as well.
And I think about that for myself too. Like we are truly blessed to be in the time we're in because even myself, like if I was born in, let's say, the 70s or maybe the 60s or whatever, there's chance I might never touch music, anything. I might not even be involved in that world. But it's because of the internet and learning these things and being able to connect with people, I'm
Mhm.
able to do what I do now. So I'm definitely super grateful for that. And it definitely applies to my own journey as well. It's definitely interesting to think about like what things could be like if things were, like I said, if we were 30 years in the past, or if we
Yeah.
were, who knows what it'll be 30 years from now. So
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah,
Maybe everyone will be an artist then.
yeah. Well, we'll see. Again, I think the real stuff will always stick more than the
Sure.
artificial stuff, and I think the real people that are dedicated to it will always kind of shine through, and you'll know, uh, regardless. But yeah, I definitely think it's an interesting thing to talk about.
Talk to me about how you feel about the state of having to promote your own music. Like, obviously, the internet is a giant resource.
Yeah.
You could post your songs on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and they can blow up, and you can instantly have a following. Or you could post 400 times about the same song, and no one looks at it. There's, like
Yeah.
there's those 2 ends of the spectrum. So talk to me about what you think the current state of promotion on the internet's like for music.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting because obviously a lot of social media platforms have changed the algorithm where a lot of your followers don't even see what you're posting.
Yeah.
I think you've almost had to get more intuitive with how you promote. Like for me, I've been doing a lot more email list stuff, so trying to build an
Mhm.
email list because I know that if I send to an email list, all those people will see it. And if I post to Instagram, what 10% is going to see it, probably even the people that follow me. So, and obviously, trying to promote to a lot of different platforms. Like I don't think you should always focus your energy on every single platform, but it's good to be on a lot of these platforms just so different people can see what's going on because not everybody in your audience is going to be on every single platform.
Mhm.
Overall, I think I've just made it fun for myself to promote my music and come up with new content and try different things. Because I think a lot of people view it as a headache or as something that is, it's work. If you can find a way to make that stuff fun, you will it will be a lot more normal than you think. That would
Mhm.
kind of be what I would say because around like 2018 is when I started doing more content around my stuff and started to build like my own brand. And it
Mhm.
was very difficult at first to kind of figure out, what kind of stories did I want to tell? What did I kind of want? What did I kind of want to let people in on?
Mhm.
As far as like my own story and my sound and things like that. But then once you start getting the ball rolling, it just becomes a lot easier. And now I feel like I can come up with content strategies a lot more easily and obviously plan ahead. And that's something that's been super
Yeah.
vital to be able to be consistent too. Because I think if you're trying to post every week or every day or whatever you're going to try to do and update people on what you're working on, you got to have some type of strategy and some type of plan, and definitely
Mhm.
get organized too. That would be a huge thing that will help you be able to do that in an effective way. And so I've just been trying to be able to do that and figure it out. But as far as just promoting your material and your content, it's always going to keep changing because these platforms keep changing and new platforms keep getting introduced to us. So I guess it's just kind of keep an ear to what's going on and try your best, but have fun. Just experiment and have fun. That's all you can
Yeah.
do.
No, I think that's great advice, and it's so true because if you're that person that's posting about your music 400 times about the same song, you're gonna feel like it's pretty monotonous and can
Yeah.
get pretty repetitive and boring. So if you can find a way, make it fun, 100%.
Yeah. And even if
Yeah,
it's
there's
not working, you might even want to consider shifting, maybe trying something new. I see a lot of people, they'll post the same post every single day. It's not even a different post. It's like the same post
yeah,
every single day. And it's like, well, that's
just
not
copy.
going to get it done. You kind of got to at least shift. You could talk about the same song, but shift to different content ideas and start figuring out different ways to tell the same thing, and see which one works better. It's almost like A/B testing and
Okay.
figuring out which one is more effective. So
Yeah, there's this artist that I randomly ran into on, I think it was TikTok, and his name's Alec Ferris. And he had spent a bunch of this time like making cool edits to promote his music, and has been a music producer and artist for years now. And he just started literally just posting him in a live show doing his music, like no gimmicks, no harsh editing. He was like, "I'm just gonna post my music here, and if you like it, like, you'll follow me."
mm,
And as he did that shift in how he posted about it, his monthly listeners on Spotify has gone from, like, 4,000, I think it was last time I checked, like, 160,000. So he's,
yeah.
like, 16x or if not more, like, the 40x his audience in, like, in 2 months just because of that shift and using the internet and using TikTok in the right way for something like
Yeah.
that.
You never know what can work until you try things out
Mhm.
and figure out what you can kind of how you can make your mark. And it's more about like using these platforms to your advantage. I think everybody looks at these platforms in a negative way. And it's like if you
Mhm.
could just shift your perspective to thinking about more positive ways and how you can uh, just tell your story through them, then it will become a lot easier to start doing those things.
For sure. So shifting a little bit, talk to me about proven knowledge. I guess where the concept for that came from and what it's grown into now.
Yeah. So my friend that I said I started out with, made
Mhm.
those first few albums with, we created that together in 2018, and it was kind of just a brand to, release music under. It really wasn't a super big thing. We also started doing a version of the podcast that year as well. And we would talk about all kinds of stuff. We would talk about music, but we would talk about sports and entertainment, and it was kind of just like talk about anything. And then around 2020, during the pandemic, I ended up shifting it to music only. I wanted to kind of niche it down to say we're going to focus on the music side of things and interviewing artists and producers and engineers and people that are in the industry. But overall, the whole proven knowledge name, the logo is a heart and a brain like together, and it kind of means combining your logical and emotional sides together. Because I think a
Mhm.
lot of people always think that your heart and your mind are at war with one another, but we said like, what if your heart and mind were in unison? That's how you're living your best life. That's how you're being your best self as a
Mhm.
creative. Um, so that's kind of how the concept and the logo came about, and really the meaning behind it. Um, and yeah, like I said, 2020 was the beginning of the podcast. Started inviting people on the show, mostly people that I was connected with at the time, because I wanted to see if
Mhm.
the concept could even get off the ground. And I had a lot of people say they were interested in being interviewed. And then from there, I've been doing those interviews almost every week for almost 5 years. I take like 1 week off a year at the end of the year to kind of recharge and refuel. But I'm putting episodes out every Tuesday. So we are approaching 300 episodes. We just put out
Awesome, man.
280 today, actually. So yeah,
Dude, congrats to you. That's amazing. Good for
thank you,
you. That's
thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And it's another thing where, I'm super blessed because you could do a podcast on your own and that's cool, but I think to have all those people agree to talk to me for 20, 30 minutes at a time, it's like what are the chances of that? That many people. So to even be, because you could reach out to these people and they could give you the middle finger, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
There's no guarantee any of these people are ever going to tell you yes. And now I have even someone I'm working with who manages a lot of artists, and he's booking me guests now, which
Oh,
is
wow.
crazy. So it's like
That's
it's
awesome.
gotten to the point now where I don't even have to do a lot of the legwork. Like a lot of people are coming to me now based on how the platform has been running and just based on making those connections.
Huh.
So I'm definitely blessed. We'll see how long this thing will go. I still enjoy doing it, so I'm just gonna keep doing it as long as I can, and hopefully just giving back. It's really a way just for me to give back and help other people out,
Hmm.
and let them share their stories. But hopefully the people listening can also learn and apply the lessons to their own journey, and it'll help them as well. So it's been super cool.
What's one guest or maybe even a couple guests or moments where like something from your podcast has really stuck with you?
Yeah, it would be definitely hard to think about as far as like conversations go. I definitely
Mhm,
had some really cool guests on there. One of my favorite producers, Mad Keys, was on there last year. An artist named Kent Money was on a few years ago, who was someone that I listened to all of high school. It was kind of cool to talk to
that's
him.
cool.
I don't know. I feel like every conversation that I've had on there has had some type of value in it. And
Mhm,
I don't know. I don't really listen to the old episodes that much because I'm always focused on the next one. I feel like
mhm,
one of these days I got to sit down and go back and start listening to the old episodes. I'll probably be very appalled by my approach on them. I'll be like, oh, why did I say that? Why did I ask that question? But it'll be interesting to hear, kind of the information that was given by the guest and like what kind of things were said in that episode that would have helped me or would have helped someone else. So one of these days I'm gonna sit down and kind of go through some of these old episodes, but I guess I'm just working up the courage to do that. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you've done 280 episodes. That's that's a lot of episodes, man. That really is impressive. Like, this is gonna be number 16, so I got a while to catch up to you. Um, is there any piece of advice you could give me, from someone that's had a lot of those conversations on a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the way I approach it is just you got to be yourself. You got to be genuine. I think a lot of
Mhm,
people when they get in front of a camera or behind a microphone, they start to try to be somebody else, and they
mhm.
start to kind of turn on this personality that isn't them. And it's
Yeah,
like that's gonna hurt you because you are trying to live two different lives at that point. If you could just be yourself and be authentic, uh, you'll be fine. And then I think it just goes back to the consistency thing, just like anything
uh-huh,
else. If you could stay consistent with it, you start building up an audience, a following, and people can rely on you. They know that every week or every other week you're putting out an episode. They can
that's
rely
important.
on you. If you're only putting out one episode every couple months,
Yeah,
you're gonna forget about you. You're gonna be forgotten, and you're gonna be, with all the podcasts out there, they're probably gonna replace you with somebody else that's putting out content relatively quickly, or at least on a consistent basis. So just I guess get your audience familiar with when you put out episodes and the style of your format, and
mhm,
just be yourself. I think those are if you do all that, you'll be great. You'll be good to go. And you can keep evolving your platform too over time and just
yeah,
explaining to your audience how you're going to evolve it. But as long as you're doing those things, I think you'll be headed in the right direction no matter what. So
mhm. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I will definitely take that advice, that's for sure.
Well,
Because
you're
I would
doing it
love
already, man. You're being like I said, I wouldn't even have reached out to you if I didn't feel like you were being, your authentic self. I feel like in all these episodes you've shared, about your journey and about
Mhm,
your story and things like that. And that's what draws people in. They want to hear your story and the
yeah,
reason why you're doing it. So if you give people that, that's going to hook them in, and they're going to be like, well, now I need to hear more, and I'm intrigued to
mhm,
hear the conversation they have with this person, and what can I learn from that person? So it all comes back full circle. So
yeah. I, I think you've probably seen this based on just the way you're talking about it, but just the idea for this podcast was really just a blessing in its own. Like, I've been trying to think of something along these lines for a long time, and it was kind of a moment of revelation that came to me,
mhm.
and of course, Waffle House of all things. Um, and it's been so cool for me to see and figure out how much I love doing this. This
Yeah.
stuff is so fun, and even though it is a lot of work and I'm putting a lot of time into it, it's the best, man. Like,
Mhm.
it's amazing getting to talk to like, people like you and hear these stories and then post them for people to learn from it and take something out of it. It is an absolute privilege to be able to do that. I think
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing. So, I
Yeah.
hope you feel this about podcasting or music production or stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. As long as you still love it, that's what's going to keep you going. through the
Uh,
ups and downs. So I've had a lot of ups and downs even with my show. Like I've had guests that ghost you the day of the interview. I've had
mm,
different people kind of change what they're doing, and you're like, man, do I even want to keep going? Like I've had the last few guests that that fell through. It's like, do I even want to keep this thing going? But then you realize, why did I do this in the first place? It was to hopefully inspire somebody else out there. And you think about
yeah.
like, oh, well, this person starting out, they might want to hear this platform. They might want to hear the stories that are going to be shared on this thing. And it might help them kind of get started, or maybe just be inspired to create as well. So once you remember that, you're like, yeah, that's why I do this. So I got to keep this thing going. So
Mhm. So from that, what you've talked a lot about consistency. So what role does consistency play in your creative process?
I think it's really the biggest thing that there is, because I would never consider myself the most skilled person or the most technically inclined person with music. I think at the end of the day, what's going to keep me showing up and being out there for people to see is the consistency, just being there every single day, putting in a little work every day, even if it's just something small, like creating a little song idea or maybe a melody or something. It's
Mhm,
anything to keep the needle moving forwards. I feel like that's just a big thing. And it's something I've learned from a lot of the people I listen to and a lot of the
mhm,
people that I see what they've built for themselves. And I'm like, yeah, I want to build my own version of that one day. And they all kind of say the same thing. It's like, they've had a lot of different trials and tribulations, but they just keep showing up through all of them. You never get too high, you never get too low. You kind of stay somewhere in the middle. And if you can just focus on that day and be present in that moment, that's how you start seeing the progress over time. So I
mhm,
think it not only applies to the creative side, but it just applies to the whole journey. And that's kind of what I guess, center myself around as far as how I approach things.
mhm. So would you say is that what keeps you inspired or motivated, or is that something else?
I think that's I feel like it definitely inspires me for sure. I think there's obviously other ways to get inspiration too, but
Mhm,
I know now that that is how you see the wins come in and the different opportunities keep coming in. Is if you keep showing up and being around, people will get familiar with you and they'll be like, "Man, I see you posting a lot. I see your content. I've heard a lot of your songs."
mhm.
And it's not necessarily because you did anything or you got in their face about anything. It's just because they see you on a consistent basis and
Yeah.
they become so familiar that it's like, well, now I have to pay attention. Um, and just being able to be myself and put out my most authentic version of what my sound is like. That's also something that I'm trying to stay very locked into, because
Mhm.
that is going to be a direct reflection years from now on what I'm releasing, like what I release now. If someone stumbles upon it in 10 years, hopefully it's a reflection of my life. Even if my life has changed, it's like I want that to be a reflection of where I
Yeah.
was at that moment in life. Um, so just having that attention to detail too, but I definitely think it is something that inspires me, and keeps me motivated. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree. So, what yeah, I know you mentioned, you have a couple projects coming up in the next even couple years, but what's if you can answer this, what's really next for you maybe musically or personally?
Yeah. So musically, like we said, Leaves and Soil is coming out on the 21st. So I guess that's, the next couple
That's the
weeks.
next thing, yeah.
Yeah. And then I got a lot of other like little releases with some lo-fi labels and some instrumental labels coming out, doing some more collaborations with different people. And then 2026, I have definitely another instrumental album lined up for the summertime. I'm working on
Sweet.
a compilation that's going to have a lot of artists featured on it. So it's going to be all my production, but each song is going to have different artists on it. And that's something I'm super excited about. I'm going to be doing a lot of different content around that. So we are in not really the final stages, but I think, like 9 songs ready for it. I'm trying to get to 12, hopefully. That's kind of like the sweet spot. It's
That's
tough
awesome.
though, because this is a project I put off for a couple years because I knew it would be a daunting task because you're trying to get so many different artists on one
Yeah.
project. It's very hard because you're competing with other people's schedules and other people's
Hmm.
commitments and things like that. But it's surprisingly been coming together pretty well. I started the process in the at the end of July, and we're like I said, kind of nearing completion. At least on the music side, I got to do mixing, mastering, and then start executing these content ideas. But that album is something I'm very excited for. And then I also have another instrumental album even after that that I can kind of put out whenever. So those three projects will be dropping within the next year and a half. But you'll see a lot of different music from me, whether it's just an instrumental release with somebody else or producing for other
Hmm.
artists. And then I'm also trying to do more collaborations with one artist where I produce their whole project.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I'm putting out an album on the 14th with my friend Soma79, who's from Boston. We did an album called Zero for the Day. So that's like the first big album I've done for just one artist that I'm going to be putting out in collaboration. I'm trying to do more of those. I'm working with another artist named Kai Onyx from Rochester, New York. We're actually working
Cool.
on a couple projects right now. So just kind of being able to build out those different worlds, whether it's a instrumental album for me or doing these albums with other artists or anything like that. There's just so many possibilities to release music. So I'm just experimenting and seeing what works and just having fun at the end of the day and trying to build up my brand and my sound and hopefully people
Yeah.
enjoy it. So
Dude, your ability to not let how would I say, not let time be a deciding factor in how things get done. I find that is really impressive. Like you saying you've been working on this from since last June, that one project with all those artists, and hoping to release it next year. I would be losing my mind if it took that long to do
yeah,
all that. So, I gotta say that is really impressive that you're planning all this for years ahead, and you don't mind that it's gonna take years. You just enjoying it, and I think that is exceptional, dude. That is really cool that you're able to kinda work that way. I love that. I
So
love that a
I
lot.
definitely appreciate that. I think being able to work on a lot of different things helps you with that too.
Mhm.
Because if I was just focused on one project, then it might be a little different. I might feel like, oh, I got to get this out, very
Yeah.
soon. But I think I do make a lot of music too. So it comes a little
Mhm.
easier to kind of say, I could put these tracks over here for this project. I could send these to
Yeah.
this artist. Maybe we'll work on a little project. And uh, like I said, just having as much fun with it as I can while still kind of staying calculated in the approach. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. I think each year has been a little bit, more and more, and hopefully that can continue. So
Alright, I got 3 more questions for you, okay?
okay,
3
I'm ready.
more. So How how long does it take you from start to finish? I'm sure this is different for every song, whether you're working with an artist or on your own or what style you're going for, but
Hmm.
from start to finish, how long does it take you to have an idea for a song, to have it released and all the content made for it?
So for I guess from conception, like if I'm just making a beat to start with, it might be like 45 minutes to an hour usually, if it's
Okay.
something that's pretty good. And then from there, it's just so random because it really just depends on what project it's going to be going into. I mean, there's beats that I made 2 years ago that are just now going to be coming out, but it's because of the way that they're being released. Other beats, it's like I might have made it a month ago and then I send it to an artist, they record to it, and now it's out the next month. So it's
Yeah.
very weird to kind of track the lifespan of these songs. So it really does vary. I
Mhm.
think for me, if I'm releasing it solely on my own, it might take, a year or so. If it's going on like an album, like something that
Sure.
I'm trying to build a theme around, because I might have to rename the track, kind of reformat the track a little bit, change some things, kind of make it fit within the album. But overall, I don't think there's a distinct like time for each track. Each track has a totally different journey once it's created, which is very interesting. Um, but it is cool to kind of think about that sort of thing.
Do you ever release singles that are unattached to an album, or is it always the single is going to be part of an album?
So far, I've done like all the ones I release on my own are usually going to be attached to an album. But then if I'm in collaboration with, let's say, another producer or another label, they might just put out one of my beats as a release on its own, and it might not be attached to anything. But as far as
Mhm,
like the stuff I've been doing solely myself, I've been trying to make sure that they're attached to a bigger body of work and
mhm.
get people kind of excited for that album and start building the hype around that. So
Okay.
yeah,
How do you know when a song is truly done?
I feel like you have to have the confidence in it and feel like you enjoy it. If you have any doubts whatsoever, you should probably take your time with it. Maybe go back to the drawing board with it a little bit. Um, but you also have to get to the point where you are ready to just put it out. You know, if you're doing revisions over and over and over again, there's only so much you can do. You got to get to the point where you feel confident enough to release whatever it is. And I think for me, part of that is realizing that there's other songs to be made. You know, even if I'm not like sold on this song, if I'm like, okay, I like it, but I don't love it, just put it out there because you never know who's going to actually hear it and enjoy it. And a lot of the songs you put out, even if you don't like them a lot, other people are gonna love them. So you
Mhm,
gotta kind of get over that fear of like, oh, they might not like it. It's like someone out there is gonna like it. Like trust me, you know, there's gonna be people that
yeah.
stumble upon it years from now, and then they're gonna be like, that song you put out in 2020 was great. I actually just had this happen like a couple months ago. Um, I've been sending my vinyl to a lot of record stores throughout the U.S. And there's a guy, I think it's a record store in Illinois. He checked out all my Bandcamp stuff and he heard none of the recent stuff that like he heard all the recent stuff, but he heard a project I put out in 2021, and it was called One West Coast Evening. And he was like, "This project is incredible." He's like, "I love this," and I'm like, "I haven't thought about that project in like 2 years, but thank you so much. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it." So like that's an example of, you know, you just got to feel good about what you're doing at the moment, put it out there, and then people will discover it down the line. Um,
Mhm.
so I guess that's what I would say for that.
All right. Last thing that I always ask people at the end of every single podcast. Um, what's the biggest piece of advice you could give to someone that is a young adult, maybe kind of like that 18 to 20 age range, just starting on the world without a clue how
Yeah.
life is as an adult? What's the biggest piece of advice you could give them?
Um, I guess just be ready to admit that you don't know anything and definitely be ready to see a lot of changes. You know,
Mhm,
family members coming in and out of your life for different reasons, friends in and out of your life for different reasons. People move on to different chapters of their life. So you got to kind of figure out what is going to be the next chapter for you. And don't be in such a rush because I think that society kind of trains us to feel like we got to have it all figured out when we're that young.
mhm.
No one has it figured out that young. No one does. Even if they act like they do, they don't have anything figured out. So like take your time, really start asking yourself hard questions, like sit with yourself and have difficult conversations about who you are and really start
Mhm,
finding who you are because I think that's the time where you start to figure that out. And you're always hopefully evolving as a person, but really get to the point where you're like, this is what I'm gonna focus on, and this is what I'm gonna pursue, and just start going from there and understand it's going to be difficult. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, but don't beat yourself up because this is happening for everybody. Everybody has this part of their journey to kind of go down and figure out what that path is going to lead to. So I guess that's my
yeah.
advice. Like no one has this life thing figured out. You know, we're all just trying to do our
I'll do
best
it for the
every
first
day
one.
and yeah, we're all just trying to do our best, and that's all you can do. Don't be too hard on yourself, and give yourself
Mhm,
grace. That's a huge part of it too. So
yeah. Anthony, how can people find you?
primarily on Instagram, at Anthony Church Music. The handles are a lot more similar than they used to be, but YouTube is Anthony Church Beats. And then I'm on a few other platforms, Anthony Church Music as well. But any like Spotify, Apple Music, if you look up my name, you'll see my face. There's one other Anthony Church, and I've never been able to track this guy down, but he stopped making music when I started making music. He's never put out anything else. I don't know what happened to that guy, but I guess he walked so I could run. I gotta say hats off to that guy. But you'll see
Great
my
perspective.
face. You'll know that it's me. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, dude, this has been an amazing conversation. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming on here. It's been really fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for what you do. And like I said, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate what you're doing. And I
Uh-huh.
think it's very cool to see someone that started out recently that has a lot of passion for the podcasting thing. And I think you're gonna be doing incredible stuff. And I'm excited to see how your platform evolves over the coming years because I feel like there's so much potential with what you do. And I definitely want to
Thank
get
you.
you on my show here in the near
I would
future
love
as
that.
well if you're
I would love
down.
that.
So
For
thank you
sure.
again, man.
Yeah, no worries. Awesome.